So here I am at the British Library, and there are people coming in and out, and they are all, they've come here to access the thousands of books which are here, or do research on their laptops in some kind of quiet space. And you could say that what they're doing is engaging in complexity. So they maybe have a particular interest in, I don't know, medieval poetry or quantum mechanics or something, and they want to take that interest to the next level, and so they come here to find out about it. And this is a crucial thing about climate education, in that I think in general the students don't have a chance to get to a complex level of understanding with it. And that's because arguably primarily, we have an educational system which has specialized subjects. So, as you can read inside the chapter 1 of the Climate Academy textbook, we have individual subjects: biology, chemistry, mathematics, history, geography, and so on. And climate change only ever appears as an extra inside another subject like geography or sometimes biology, and it never stands alone. So what tends to happen is that we have students who get glimpses of the climate crisis in small kind of packets of information, but they never get a full systems view of it. So there are very, very few opportunities for students who want to actually have an advanced, complex understanding of the crisis. So that's a shame, not only in itself, but also because humans enjoy puzzling things out. We enjoy problem solving. We enjoy getting to the bottom of things. So we should, educationally, we need to move on, and the Green Competence Framework, in putting engagement with complexity as a whole area, recognizes that need to advance just our literacy about the crisis. Now, there's another reason why I am at the British Library, and that's because over there is a rather large statue of Sir Isaac Newton, the great British physicist. And of course, the climate crisis is fundamentally a problem of physics. And we've known about the crisis since clearly the mechanics of the crisis since the 1800s. So there was a French physicist called Fourier who understood the basic principles of warming, and then shout out for a female scientist, Foote, who understood more the mechanics. That was around the 1850s. And then, of course, every generation adds onto that knowledge until now we have an extremely clear view of the physics of the atmosphere. So, in a way, that could be a reason why we've come to Isaac Newton's statue here. And here we see Newton more fully, and you can see his posture. His posture is the posture which he was depicted in by the famous artist William Blake. And there's something here about Newton in a sense in intense concentration, and this idea that you have when you're a student that let's say you're onto something. And one of the problems of our educational system with the climate crisis is that students don't have the opportunity to really get onto something. And if you compare the level of literacy which students have with the climate crisis compared with the literacy or the level of knowledge that they have in other subjects when they leave school, it's really shocking or bracing. We have students who graduate from school to go to university to study mathematics or music or physics, and when they go to university they have a really advanced level, whether that's the International Baccalaureate or in England it's the A-level system. But we send students at 18, we expect from students who are 18 years old an advanced level of understanding, which they then really specialize in when they're at university. And here we see Newton in this sort of posture of intense concentration, but we don't allow students the possibility to have that with the climate crisis. Of course, you could say, well, they don't have an opportunity at school to research dinosaurs or the history of football in great depth. But let's not forget the climate crisis and the sustainability crisis is a crisis of existential proportions. So this is something which, just to be literate in the world, it's essential that students have that. And you can't just sideline it or keep it as an add-on into other subjects. Now, this takes me to my final point, because if we go a little bit closer again, if you look at the statue in a bit more detail, you can see on the side of his arm there's like a detail. In fact, Newton's body and his glasses, there's almost a sort of, it's almost as if the geometry which he's studying outside of himself is in a way embodied in him. There's a great muscularity about Newton here, and those kind of bolts, and you could almost say like the mechanicalness of the body shows that Newton has, you know, it's almost as if his theories have become him. Now, one of the reasons why the British Library put this here, sorry about always seems to be an emergency when I start speaking. One of the reasons why the British Library put the statue here and why they chose this as a symbol is because this statue represents both art and science. And this is an embodiment, this is a scientist made beautiful and made powerful through a moment, or I imagine it took him more than a moment to make it, but embodied in this statue. And this is really what the Green Competence Framework wants to endorse, because if you want to have a full picture of the climate crisis, you cannot simply have atomized view. You cannot see the climate crisis, simply as a matter of physics, because the crisis up there in the atmosphere plays out on a human level here, on all kinds of levels, with psychology, with sociology, with economics. This is a crisis which is a complete systems crisis. And so, just like this body in a way is a fusion between science and art, we also have to have students being able to make connections between things and be able to see how everything fits together. And the reason why I set up my Climate Academy, 12 years ago was to give students the opportunity to do that, because I could see from the science of the physics that the planetary boundaries were so close, it would just take too long to do the necessary syllabus changes, to implement all the training to take place in order to deliver. I mean, we're talking, just to be blunt, we only have 5 to 15 years, depending on which planetary boundary or threshold you want to cross over, to fix this. So when I set up my Climate Academy, I did it in a way so that students they did it in their spare time, they did it at a lunchtime, they did it as something which was, in a way, transdisciplinary. It went above all the other subjects. And once you give students that view, like in the textbook where I talk about the tree in the middle, which lines all the other trees up, it's important that we give students that ability to synthesize what they know, so that when they go back into their individual subjects, when they go back into their physics or chemistry or geography lessons, they know how it all fits together. So what's missing in our educational system is this ability to piece things together, this ability to see how the system plays out at different layers. and the different levels. So here, okay, Newton, we can say this is physics and art fused together, but in terms of our educational paradigm that we're living in there, these things, you have to fight for them. You have to, in a way, bolt them on to the current educational system. And yeah, the Green Competence Framework points out very clearly that there are all kinds of competencies which we're not giving our students because we live in this atomized, this educational paradigm where we just have specialities and not much else.